Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get your top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Stuart Smith. Hi, Stuart.
Hi Tanvi, yes, Turkey's president has suggested his country's forces might get involved in Gaza. We're getting the view on that from Tel Aviv, and from Paris we're getting the latest on the Olympics. All that and more coming up, but first back to you for the headlines.
Quad foreign ministers meet concludes in Tokyo with a pledge to bolster maritime security in the Indo Pacific region.
The overall messaging is that our four countries, all democratic polities, pluralistic societies and market economies, are working together for a free and open Indo-Pacific, for a rules-based order and for global good.
Kremlin dismisses the Western speculation that Russia was behind a series of attacks against the French railway system hours before the Paris Olympics opening ceremony. And government opposition both claim win in Venezuela's presidential elections. Official results questioned as Nicolas Maduro wins third term amid opposition claims of irregularity. So the Quad foreign ministers meeting took place in Tokyo today, where leaders of the four nations discussed and deliberated upon the key global challenges concerning the world, where specific focus remained on the Indo-Pacific region. The leaders emphasized the importance of adherence to international law and importance of the group in maintaining a prosperous, stable and free Indo-Pacific.
Foreign ministers of India, Australia and Japan and the Secretary of State of the United States of America gathered in Tokyo, Japan for the Foreign Ministers' Meet of Quad nations. The leaders reaffirmed their commitment, common principles and capacities to preserve and strengthen the international order for the global good. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted the major global challenges and the need for the Quad to promote a rule-based international order and its ability to ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains free.
Major challenge is to ensure global economic growth while also de-risking it. Supply chains are a particular focus for resilience, just as we push for trusted and transparent digital partnerships. In a sense, we are in the midst of a re-globalization. At the same time, it is only our collective endeavors that can proof the international system against disruptions, man-made or natural. Our meeting should send a clear message that the Quad is here to stay, here to do, and here to grow.
Amid the rising instances of transgressions and intimidation in South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific region, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken stressed upon the need to bolster maritime security and domain awareness to ensure a prosperous and stable Indo-Pacific region.
We are charting a course for a more secure and open Indo-Pacific and Indian Ocean region by bolstering maritime security and domain awareness. In practical terms, what does this mean? It means strengthening the capacity of partners across the region to know what's happening in their own waters.
Meanwhile, the Australian Foreign Minister raised the alarm over long-standing international rules being broken and twisted, calling Quad a central leadership for the stability of the region.
Long-standing rules are being bent and twisted or broken. Countries face coercive trade measures, unsustainable lending, political interference and disinformation. All of these encroach on the ability of every country. For Australia, this Quad partnership is central. We are enabling choices in terms of the character of the region we want, a region in which sovereignty and the capacity to both agree and disagree is safeguarded.
After the meeting, the foreign ministers also called on the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, where the ministers briefed him of the key takeaways of their meeting. The Quad Foreign Ministers meet has laid out an agenda for the upcoming Quad Leaders Summit planned to take place in India this year, where the leaders of the four nations will take on the key challenges and opportunities arising in the rapidly changing geopolitical landscape of the Indo Pacific region. Akshay Dongre, DD India.
On the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar reiterated that no solution will emerge from the battlefield and there must be a return to dialogue and diplomacy. Dr. Jaishankar said this while holding a presser in Tokyo after the Quad meeting.
From the very beginning, had the view that use of force does not resolve problems between countries. And in the last 2.5 years, as this conflict has deepened, it has cost lives, it has done economic damage, it has had global consequences. We believe that there must be a return to dialogue and diplomacy. Our feeling today is that, more needs to be done, that we should not resign ourselves to the continuation of the current state of conflict and say, let this take its own course.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also addressed media after the Quad meeting and said that the U.S. is on course for a more secure and open Indo Pacific and Indian Ocean region by bolstering maritime security.
We are charting a course for a more secure and open Indo Pacific and Indian Ocean region. We are helping to accelerate the Indo Pacific's path to even greater prosperity by harnessing the power of digital and emerging technologies, and again, doing it together. Today, we took the first step to launching the AI Engage program, funding opportunities for collaborative research to leverage these technologies, like artificial intelligence. This week, we announced a new cohort of Quad Fellows. We're sponsoring top STEM students, those who have masters or PhDs, to come study in the United States. We're deepening our collaboration on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. We're working to finalize a response mechanism to make coordination even more effective and immediate to deal with future disasters.
Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs Penny Wong's statement focused on the practical aspect of assistance in the shared region to meet needs.
Long-standing rules are being bent and twisted or broken. Countries face coercive trade measures, unsustainable lending, political interference and disinformation. All of these encroach on the ability of every country. For Australia, this Quad partnership is central. We are enabling choices in terms of the character of the region we want, a region in which sovereignty and the capacity to both agree and disagree is safeguarded. But second, we seek to enable choices in a practical sense by bringing together the advantages, the comparative advantages that these nations before you offer and offering that practical assistance to meet the region's needs.
Meanwhile, China has reacted sharply to the joint statements by the United States of America and Japan. China's foreign ministry said that the Quad is falsely accusing China of maritime crimes. During a news briefing in Beijing, Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson described the joint statement as irresponsible and a blatant interference in China's internal affairs.
The Japan-US joint statement showed a disregard to the facts, distorted the truth, maliciously attacked China's foreign policy, blatantly interfered in China's internal affairs. They maliciously attacked and discredited China on maritime issues and made irresponsible remarks on China's normal military development and national defense policy. China is strongly dissatisfied with the exaggeration of China's threat and the malicious speculation of regional tension.
Next, on to the conflict in West Asia. Now, tensions have escalated between Israel and armed political group Hezbollah after a strike in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights killed 12 children and teenagers last week. My colleague Stuart Smith is in London. He takes it forward from me here, gives us more on this conflict and other stories making headlines around the world. Stuart, so concerns rising about a full-scale war between Israel and Hezbollah now?
Yes, Hezbollah denied responsibility for the attack on Majd al-Shams on Saturday, the deadliest in Israel or Israeli-occupied territory since Hamas's October 7th assault sparked the conflict in Gaza. Hezbollah was on high alert and had cleared some key sites in both Lebanon's south and the eastern Bekaa Valley in case of an Israeli attack. As tension escalates, some flights at Lebanon's Beirut airport have been cancelled or delayed, with Lebanon's Middle East Airlines saying disruptions to its schedule were related to insurance risks. Lufthansa, Turkish, Greek and Ethiopian airlines have also cancelled their flights to Beirut scheduled for Monday. Israeli soldiers have continued targeted raids on Hamas facilities in the southern Gaza areas of Rafah and Khan Yunis in the past 24 hours. The Israel Defense Forces say numerous terrorists were eliminated in airstrikes and close-quarter encounters. They say ground forces also dismantled Hamas infrastructure in Khan Yunis, and that during the past day, the Air Force struck 35 Hamas targets across Gaza, including armed terror squads, infrastructure, and buildings rigged with explosives. Meanwhile, Mossad Director David Barnea returned to Israel on Sunday night after another round of multilateral talks on a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan indicated the possibility of Turkey intervening in Israel, akin to its previous actions in Libya and Nagorno-Karabakh. Erdogan, who has been a fierce critic of Israel's offensive in Gaza, began publicly discussing the idea during a speech praising his country's defense industry. However, he did not provide specific details about the nature of any possible intervention. Erdogan's comments came after he previously called on the Islamic world to take action against Israel. In 2020, Turkey sent military personnel to Libya in support of the United Nations recognized government of National Accord of Libya. DD India correspondent Sarah Coates has sent us this report from Tel Aviv.
There's certainly a lot of concern right around the region as to what Israel's response will look like. And this is, of course, why the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cut that visit to the United States short. He flew back to Israel on Sunday before huddling with his security cabinet to decide on a response. Well, that cabinet has now given Netanyahu and also the Defence Minister Yoav Gallant the authority to decide on the scope and the timing of this response. But certainly there is a lot of concern right around the region, and the 12th funeral for that 12th child that was killed is right now underway in the northern Druze village of Mazdal Shams. So certainly it is a region in mourning, and this comes as international leaders are really calling for calm. There's a lot of intensive diplomacy ongoing right now to try and bring this situation under control amid a lot of fear that this could potentially tip the region into a larger scale war.
Russian forces are staging their heaviest assaults near the strategic eastern city of Pokrovsk, threatening a key supply route for Ukrainian troops on Monday. Russia's defense ministry said that its forces had taken the villages of Porez and Yevenivka in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. The General Staff of Ukraine said fighting on the Pokrovsk front was the fiercest, adding that Ukraine had fought off 52 Russian assaults there in the last 24 hours. President Nicolas Maduro has won Venezuela's presidential election, according to partial results announced by the Electoral Council. The head of that council, Elvis Amoroso, declared that Maduro had 51.2% of the vote, with 80% of ballots counted, while his main rival, Edmundo González, had won 44%.
Venezuela, y desde aquí también, al 80%.
With 80% of the count, we can emit our first report that marks a strong and irreversible trend. With 80% of the ballots counted and with a level of participation at 59%, the results are as follows. First, Nicolás Maduro Moros of the Gran Polo Patriótico got 5,150,092 votes at 51.20%. Candidate Mundo González of the Mesa de la Unidad got 4,445,978 votes at 44.2%.
Obtuvo 5.150.000.
After the announcement of the results by the National Electoral Council, Maduro addressed cheering supporters outside the Miraflores presidential palace. He said the electoral system is transparent and called for a national dialogue.
Y a Milei le digo, Milei,
When Donald Trump denounced he had the election stolen, we didn't meddle with that. We didn't tell them to do this or do that. This is in their hands, an internal affair the United States will solve. So this is what I demand as President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Respect for the Constitution, the public authorities, and the sovereign life of Venezuela.
Reacting to Maduro's announcement, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado claimed opposition candidate Edmundo González had actually won, with 70% of the vote.
Edmundo González obtuvo el 70%
Edmundo González Urrutia got 70% of the votes in this election, and Nicolás Maduro received 30% of the votes. This is the truth, and my dear Venezuelans, this is the Venezuelan election with the largest margin of victory in history. Congratulations, Edmundo.
The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, expressed his view on Nicolás Maduro winning a third term in office. On the social media platform X, Borrell wrote, "The people of Venezuela voted on the future of their country peacefully and in large numbers. Their will must be respected. Ensuring full transparency in the electoral process, including detailed counting of votes and access to voting records at polling stations, is vital." The Kremlin on Monday dismissed Western media speculation that Russia was behind the recent series of attacks against the French railway system. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called it unsubstantiated accusations and said that the Western media has frequently tried to blame Moscow for everything without evidence. On Friday, France's high-speed rail network was sabotaged in a series of pre-dawn attacks, causing travel chaos and exposing security gaps just hours before the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics. France's Interior Ministry said on Saturday that he could not rule out foreign involvement in the attack. Pollution in Paris's River Seine has again forced the cancellation of Olympic triathlon training events, raising doubts over whether the competition will take place as planned on July 30th and July 31st. DD India correspondent Ross Cullen reports.
Well, unfortunately for the Paris 2024 organisers, the water quality in the River Seine remains unsafe for competition, despite the fact that they have invested $1.5 billion in a new wastewater and sewage system just further down the river. They have really tried to put in place all sorts of measures to make sure that the water for the open water events due to take place in the river is safe enough for Olympic athletes, and there were some positive results earlier in the month after we have had many months of problems with the river quality. The Mayor of Paris took a dip inside the river. The Sports Minister also went in for a swim, and we did have some more positive results in terms of low bacteria levels. However, 36 hours of rain on Friday for the opening ceremony and also on Saturday have meant that all of that good work has now gone to waste, because the water levels in the river when it comes to the quality are back high again. We now have high levels of bacteria, we have unsafe levels in terms of competition. What does this mean for the Olympics? Well, the triathlon training event on Sunday, cancelled. The triathlon training event on Monday today, cancelled. It does also mean it puts in doubt the start of the actual triathlon competition tomorrow, Tuesday. There are some reserve days on the 1st and 2nd of August that could be used. However, if the water quality remains dangerous throughout the rest of this week, and including on the reserve days, we could have an Olympic triathlon that becomes a duathlon, with only the cycling and the running legs taking place and the swimming leg being cancelled. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
Well, that's it from me here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Stuart. Stuart Smith joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. US President Joe Biden to propose sweeping reforms to the Supreme Court today, including term limits and a binding code of conduct for its 9 justices. And 29 July is International Tiger Day. We take a look at the majestic creature and its habitat.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. US President Joe Biden will announce plans to reform the Supreme Court on Monday, a media outlet reported, citing two people familiar with the matter, adding that he was likely to back term limits for justices and an enforceable code of ethics. Biden said earlier this week during an Oval Office address that he would call for reform of the Supreme Court. Biden is also expected to seek a constitutional amendment to limit immunity for presidents and some other office holders in the aftermath of a July Supreme Court ruling that presidents have broad immunity from prosecution. Biden will make the announcement in Texas on Monday, and the specific proposals could change. The rapidly growing wildfire in Northern California has left thousands of firefighters battling after the blaze doubled in size within 24 hours. As of Sunday evening, the park fire had burnt over 360,000 acres north of Sacramento, the state capital, according to California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. 134 structures were destroyed in the fire. Only 12% of the fire has so far been contained. More humid weather is predicted for the area, which might aid in efforts to contain the fire spread. Many towns throughout the numerous counties have received warnings and orders to evacuate. Rigid blaze of wildfires have left ashes behind in Canada. More than thousands of residents were forced to evacuate as the blaze engulfed the region. Though the authorities report steady progress in surpassing fires in the Canadian tourist town of Jasper after massive fires destroyed about a third of the town. The officials said that the fire in Jasper National Park was the largest wildfire that battered the region in over 100 years in the park. And next we take a look at what else is making news around the world. Fishermen in northern province of the Philippines are worried about the recent oil spill after MT Terra Nova capsized last week. The oil spill that is washing up the shores may affect their livelihoods and lives both. The government is inspecting the cause of the spill. It was a day of thrills and marvels as tourists and residents celebrated the 20th anniversary of Moster's traditional bridge in Bosnia. The 16th century architectural marvel had been destroyed during the Balkan Wars. It was rebuilt in 2004 and is inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. London's famous Kew Gardens are also facing the risk of climate change as some of the trees have started showing the signs. Experts predict that the trees may totally die by 2090. It is due to drier soils that reduce the amount of water access for these trees. July 29th is celebrated as International Tiger Day, a day dedicated to raising awareness about tiger conservation and the protection of their natural habitats. This date serves as a reminder of the agreement signed by various countries at the St. Petersburg Tiger Summit in Russia in 2010. India is home to more than 70% of the world's tiger population. The long-standing efforts of Project Tiger has successfully allocated 2.3% of the country's geographical area to 54 tiger reserves. There are currently 3,682 on an average of tigers in India. And next we take you to the biggest land art festival in Russia. Famous for its impressive and bizarre performances and installations, the annual Arkstorine Land Art Festival was hosted in Russia's Kaluga region. The history of the festival dates back to 1980s when one of the Russian architects, Vasily Shitenin, came to Nikola Lenivets village with an idea to build a home for artists where they could live and create their objects using natural landscape. So that's it in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles, Facebook, X, that's Twitter, and Instagram at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. So we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi and elsewhere in the world. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.